Hey, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of Tony Talks T Squared, coming at you live for this 27th episode here on the 19th of May 2020. Had my buddy Chris Guzzo that I hadn't talked to in a very long time, so it was kind of like half catching up, half talking a lot about some stuff he's working on as an independent filmmaker. He's been writing a lot of scripts. Very interesting stuff. If you don't know anything about what it takes to make a script, you'll learn a lot from this episode. He also hosts his own podcast along with a couple of his buddies, and it's a wrestling podcast. If that piques your fancy, their Twitter and Instagram is at MGFPOD, and yeah, you can check them out on Twitter and Instagram. And also, don't forget to give us a follow, Tony Talks 8, if you haven't done so already, on both the Twitter and Instagram sphere of things. And also, for all email inquiries, it's tonytalks8podcast@gmail.com. All right, here's the episode. Here comes the intro. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll talk to you next time.
Yeah, it's a 16-page short film script.
Okay.
So they had a competition for short films. There's all different competitions. There's screenplays for movies. There's pilots, spec scripts, all different types. So I sent that, and it won so far. I sent it to a few, but I'm still waiting back on the rest.
What happens if or could it be optioned? Am I using the right term?
I don't know if necessarily a short would be optioned. If it grabbed the right person's attention, they might come back to me and say could you make this into a feature or something it could turn into it's good enough as maybe a concept to write further. You know what I mean? A lot of people, how they get made, and this is something that I try to do too. I am not made yet, trust me, but a lot of people, they write short films and they direct short films and they submit them into film festivals. And a lot of times they have a bigger script in the back pocket, and they do what you call is a proof of concept. So maybe their short film is 6 to 10 minutes long to get the idea. So let's say I was writing a television show, and I wrote a 60-page pilot, and then I wanted to get the pilot to somebody. I wanted to get some steam under it. So I would go out, I would try to capture the essence of the concept of the pilot in the show, right, and put that into a 6 to 10 minute short film or a 2 to 3 minute kind of trailer, and kind of sell that with the film, with the television show.
That makes sense.
And it's also costs money. Everything.
Of course it does.
Yeah.
I guess everything's about putting it into the right hands or getting it in front of the right eyes.
Yeah, I mean it's hard. You go the festival route. The problem right now, what's happening is I submitted the script. I also had 2 short films that they got nominated for a couple of different film festivals, but the last 2 that they were in, they had to do it online. So the whole idea of the film festival is for exposure and to try to network and gain attention. The problem is that because COVID happened, I'm not able to meet people and network. So it was just kind of hosted on a website, which kind of stunk, but I'm still grateful and happy that they even got into film festivals. It's hard to do, so I'm proud of that. I'm happy that it got in. There's a film festival coming up. I have 2 short films in the Jersey Shore Film Festival, I think, coming up at the end of June. One's called Family Bond, which I made actually about a year ago to date. May 10th or 11th, I think I shot it. And that's kind of a thriller that I made with a dark thriller.
That's
and
cool.
Then
I
Yeah,
like those. That's like my favorite genre now. It's like those.
I'll send it to you. Did I send it to you?
No, no.
I'll send it to you. I got to give you the password for it. But yeah, it's basically in a nutshell. It's about a guy who his wife has gone missing for 2 years, and
Oh, good for
everybody's
him.
giving up on the
Just
on
kidding.
where she is, and he hasn't, and he cannot like accept the fact that she would just like run off and leave him and his two daughters by themselves. So he has a brother that is actually a private eye who finally cracks the case, and he brings him pictures of his wife's whereabouts. And I don't want to spoil it, but based off of that, that kind of shows where his fate is going, and it kind of is about like where the wife went and what happened.
Let me ask you something. You said
Sure.
the short was about 16 pages long. How many iterations of it do you go through till you know it's like done, like or good?
You, I mean, it all depends. You go through it. This one I went through it about like 15 to 20 times, but like it's never good enough.
Right.
There's always going to be a mistake. There's always going to be. You could always make something better. You could always make the dialogue sound better, more catchy. You could always try to I go back. I'll give you an example. I'm writing right now. I'm writing a pilot for this show that I've this idea that I've worked on for like the last 2 years, and I'm trying to put a pitch deck in order. It's called the Fourth Temptation. All right, it's about a book it was a book that was created by God to show people what their true purpose was, but the devil stole the book from Jesus and he cursed it. And now when people come across this book, they can only see their desire. So that's basically the concept of this
They
horror
see their
thriller.
their desire, not their purpose.
Correct. Correct. So I'm writing this, and like I'm almost done with my first draft. It's about 60 pages long. So my writing process, the way I do it is I just try to get as much as I can down on paper to get to the 60 pages. I have my outline first,
That's
and then
a
I like
just for the because I don't know and for anybody that
yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
know.
please.
60 pages is like that's like a standard length for a pilot.
Right. So they say figure like a page per minute, right? So for a 1 hour episode, a pilot's is the first episode of a season.
Hmm.
It all depends on what station it's on or like what content it involves. But I wanted to go for a 1 hour drama horror thriller, kind of in the form of like Hereditary or Midsummer. I don't know if you saw those kind of movies. They're very dark. They're
Okay,
very
give
dark
an
tones
example.
onto them.
Give an example of like one that is like popular.
Did you see that Hereditary or,
Oh no, I don't. I thought.
Midsummer?
No, sorry.
Uh,
I thought you would.
you ever see Hellraiser?
I've heard of it. I'm like the worst with this stuff.
It's okay. No, it's just like one of those movies that's like very dark and has like a dark, twisted tone to it. I just wanted to make it into a television show. So
It's
I outlined like 6 episodes of this show called The Fourth Temptation. And just going back to the writing process, and then stop me wherever you want to stop me. Just for the first pilot alone, like I went through several drafts of just like the outline and trying to make sure like everything fit. And then finally, I just started writing the pilot. So like I said, I'm at like 60 pages deep. So I'm gonna now start going back and revising it because everything like the dialogue right now is like it's on the nose. The script, every time you go back, you want to like make it better. You want the dialogue to be catchy. It's gotta like hit the audience because what I'm writing is a spec script. So the difference between like a shooting script and a spec script is a spec script doesn't have any like camera angles in it. So like when you're writing a spec script, right? I'm writing it to sell it to somebody else. If I was to write it to direct it, I would write the spec script and then I would write another script based on like Librera, over the shoulder here, or we capture his face here, pan up, pan left, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, it's so long. It takes like a long time. I hate pre-production. I love directing. I like being on set. I like working with the actors and like trying to find things while I'm talking to them and saying, oh, maybe we should do it this way or that way. But yeah, I mean, this last year I directed 2 short films. One, like I said, was almost 13 minutes long, called Family Bond. The other one was more of a social satire. It was called, oh my God, I'm drawing a blank on my own thing.
Just got the
It's
title.
called Bad Service. It was, I think, 2 minutes and 35 seconds or something. And it was just a social satire of like what we do when we go out to eat. And it's about 2 people that are engaged, and they're just like intrigued with their cell phones. And
I think I
most of
saw.
the
I think you posted this. You
I
posted.
did. Maybe I did. I don't remember.
I think I
I might.
remember. I think I. Ugh.
It's the service.
You'll post shit. I'll watch it
Yeah,
and then I won't say anything.
no, it's okay. It's about they're on it. They go to dinner. They're on their cell phones. They're not liking each other. They're not talking to each other, but they're liking each other's pictures on
Oh yeah, yeah,
Instagram.
yeah, yeah. I'm almost positive, unless
Right.
somebody did something very similar.
And then the service goes out in the restaurant, and they're forced to like talk to each other, and it goes back and forth. They don't know what to say to each other,
What
and
did?
then
Why did you? What inspired you to create that?
because I live in Staten Island,
Because
and
you
that's what
live.
it's really
That's
like.
what the world is. That's not just Staten Island. That's a little.
Of course, it is, and I'm guilty of it too. How many times I've been out to dinner and been rude and like been on my cell phone and like not paying attention, and like it just shows like how I'm never in the moment. I'm always like in the future, like thinking, or in the past thinking, but like never like present here. Sometimes I should just
That's
teach
part of
myself.
why I'm enjoying doing these so much because it's just like and you were asking what do you want to talk about? I'm like, well, in my head I'm like, we'll figure it out. All right, it's just
Right.
like I'm not gonna. I don't like. I'll write a little bit of notes, but for the most part, I think it's becoming a lost art. It's just like being able to fucking talk to somebody,
Right.
so that and it's been like that, and I've thought like that for a while too. So it struck a chord when you posted it. So it's cool. It's thought provoking.
Yeah.
That's what we need. We need more thoughts, more sensible thoughts. Um. So you create 60 pages is a typical 1 minute a page. I think I've heard that before. Did you see Kevin James's thing?
Which Kevin James thing? His podcast?
No, no,
You took it about, wait, oh no, you're saying the
he had a
short film when
he had a
he's
2 minute
the sound
thing.
guy? You're talking about that when he puts himself in other films as the sound guy?
No, he had a 2 minute short that just came out, and he was running from the government, I guess, or something. And then at the end of it, it says 6 hours earlier, and he was shaking hands with somebody he hadn't seen in a while, and then people were recording him on their phones, and they were saying, "Oh no, look!" And then somebody was called up the authorities and said, "We have a handshaker
Right.
because
To
of all
make
this."
fun of the coronavirus, you mean?
Yeah, and then he was getting chased by the cops and all that shit. So it
Right.
was cool. It made you think about power and authority and all that shit.
No, it's great. I mean, I wonder. I just like to go back to film. I wonder how many people are gonna come out of here with like scripts about the coronavirus or like the outbreak. I mean, I was saying yesterday, you could probably make a movie where it's literally this, and it's like 12 people on a screen, and maybe they all go to like this party or something like that, and then somebody's murdered out of the 12 people, and the other people are in this kind of crazy conflict. Maybe they can't get out of the door or something like that. And the whole movie is just on the computer with these 12 people who
It's
are
a
not
good idea.
allowed
That
to
sounds like
see
a good idea. You know what that it reminds me a little bit of the way they filmed Cloverfield,
Right,
but it's not. It's definitely different. It's different, but as far as like having like that angle where there's the camera recording
right.
and you just see people like
You could probably do it for like no budget. Maybe like one of them gets out of the room and they gotta like change their zoom to like the phone. So then like you could see them like move around a little bit or something like that. I was playing with all these screwy ideas. I was talking to my friend yesterday about it, and I was saying, oh, maybe they're rolling this like containment unit, and they're being like tested by scientists, and they think that there's like this pandemic out there. Meanwhile, they
that's
don't
good.
know because they haven't been out for so long
That's
because they've been
cool.
self-contained and quarantined.
That's like with the Big Brother in Germany. Did you hear about that?
No,
They were filming Big Brother, the TV show where
right.
everybody's, and they did was the Germany version, and it started before the pandemic started, and they didn't know anything that was going on because they have no touch with the outside world.
Yeah.
And then eventually the producers were like, "I guess we got to tell them what's going on."
Right, yeah. They're gonna stop.
You know
I
what's
remember I was. Go ahead. Yeah, what were you gonna say?
because it just made me think. One of my favorite movies was not it's in the I guess it's in the Cloverfield series, but 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Yeah, that was good. That was with what's
John
his name?
Goodman.
John Goodman, right?
Because the twist and the way the girl, she's contained and she doesn't know and she just assumes the guy's crazy, but then she comes out and he was right all along. It's just like playing with the mind. I guess all those mind.
I saw something that's interesting. Like since you brought that up about like what Alfred Hitchcock once said about that you could tell an audience that like a bomb is about to go off in 10 minutes, and then you show like people just talking, and it just creates this like conflict and this like tension right away. So if you said the movie started off with this bomb is gonna go off in 10 minutes, and you see like all these people at this dinner party, knowing fucking real good that this bomb is gonna go off, it creates this real tension that like a Quentin Tarantino movie or something like that. And to say what you're saying, that what was it, 10 Cloverfield Lane?
Yeah,
12, the whole movie was tense because we didn't know throughout the whole movie if she walked outside, is he full of shit or is it real? And like that brought like this whole tension, and kind of like you didn't know who they were at first. And this guy was bunkering them down, but like, was he crazy? Was he not crazy? Was he crazy and it still was going on? It was just this great tension in there. And I kind of like going forward and like whatever else I create in the future, like I kind of want to do that kind of thing, create that scene where like maybe everybody's going out on the patio for a 3-year-old's birthday, and some crazy guy throws like some poison in the lemonade, and you're just watching everybody drink and converse, and you're like in the back of your mind know that somebody at some point is going
it's
to,
gonna be like,
something horrible is about to happen. Yeah. So I think that those kind of things, they create like a lot of great tension for moments and scenes and shit like that.
yeah, that's the shit that gets you like hooked in. Like,
Right.
oh fuck, what are they doing? And like that's like my favorite type of, besides like comedy.
Right. Like that crazy situation kind of thing is like what's gonna happen, I
Yeah,
don't know.
we watched Enemy of the State recently.
With Will Smith. I don't
Yeah,
remember that movie, but he runs, right? He's running away. It's with Gene Hackman, isn't it?
yeah. It was they. The reason why I brought it up is because you're kind of like on the edge on one level, but on another level, it made me kind of think about a lot of today's films that come out and they have like overblown CGI and all that shit. Whereas this movie had like very little effects, but it seems like there was so much more effort put into the story.
Right.
So you had to constantly, and I was like, this is like, they don't make movies, and I sound so old. I was like, they don't make movies like this anymore because the stories, the way they thought about, it's like they were putting themselves in the audience's mind as
Right.
they were. I don't know. It was great. I thought it was. I'd never seen it, but until recently, and I was like, oh shit, this is why people talk about this.
I agree. Stories like the whole thing. Stories is very important, but also like I'm trying to I'm still learning about writing and like a lot of the stuff that they say. It's great and like it makes good stories, but it's also like sometimes generic crap, and sometimes like I don't like. For example, okay, I'll tell you. They always like say when you're writing that you want to write a character with like an arc,
Yeah,
and you
I
want to
wanted
show.
to ask. I wanted to
Yeah.
ask you about character development too. So
All right. Do you want me not to get into it
no,
then?
no, go
All
ahead.
right.
Just keep.
No, but yeah, an arc and like somebody who has like wants and needs, and they go through this Harmon story circle, and at the end of the movie, they come out changed or like learning something, and like that's great, and most movies like that applies to, but some of my favorite movies of all time, like they don't have a character arc. Like The Big Lebowski, he doesn't change in the movie whatsoever. The dude, right? Henry Hill in Goodfellas, does he really change? The only thing that he does at the end of it is like he rats out his friends to save his own ass, which he vowed to never do in the beginning of the movie. But as far as like internal changing, he didn't change at all. He's the same person. While the Wolf of Wall Street, a lot of Scorsese movies, they don't change his characters. They don't learn something. They just are who they are. And it's great because it's protected behind a true story. So you really could like say, well, oh, well, what do you mean? This really happened in real life. And, you know, they didn't change in real life. So you don't have to go that route. But they're very like if any kind of videos I watch or I like try to go like these writers they have like the online you could like watch all the writers, they review your work and everything, and they're so like adamant about that, about the proactive protagonist, like that Luke Skywalker, you know what I mean, that he has a call to
Mm-hmm.
action and then he goes, and like I said, it's great in a lot of movies, but like there's movies that I don't think it applies to, and so the movies that it doesn't apply to, I actually like those movies better. That's all.
I guess if it makes sense within the story, it makes
Yeah.
sense. But if you're forcing it, people can tell it's yeah. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but I definitely had that feeling before where I was like watching something and I was like, oh, I see what they're doing with this
Formulaic,
guy.
yeah.
The when you write something, and you have characters in mind, do you create a whole background for a character? Like, because I always wondered that in writing, if I was like to write something, would I, if I have a character, would I start with writing everything about the characters or like an outline or some shit?
I would say like even though like what I just said to you about like the arc and stuff like that, I would start like with the characters like their wants and needs just for yourself. You don't even necessarily have to like put it into the story itself, but like to really understand your character and like to do like a full bio of like their background, what they eat, what they do, how they take a shit in the morning, how they get up and go to work, like what are their ambitions, like what is this, what is that. It helps as you decipher that more and more and more, and you really get to like hone in on like who your character is, you're like edging them out where they're different and they're very unique other than somebody else. So like it's why it's good to do that is because it's easier to write the dialogue that way. So like if you really know like how the person is, that person is going to talk that way
How
instead of being
deep?
generic.
How deep would you go? I guess there's no right answer.
You could write like 100 things. You could have like fun with it. You could like you're talking about like just creating the character themselves.
Yeah, if you just because like I had times where I was just started writing something. This is just that's my own tips, but this, when I was writing something and I was you creating the character as you're going with the story, but then I'm just thinking on like another level is you're probably supposed to have more detail for a character from the get go. You're supposed to have like an outline. I was thinking you probably need like at least an outline for everybody.
Well, I'll give you an example. The thing that I'm writing now, The Full Temptation, I wrote it first as a movie like a couple of years ago. And I look back at like it was fucking horrible. Like the dialogue is fucking awful. And I'm not saying that it's great and wonderful now, but like compared to like it was just awful. And like there was so many things that was just like on the nose. And this whole process, I've been doing it for a couple of years now. Like I hired a script consultant to like kind of guide me through. They don't change the script, but they guide you, tell you like what they think works and not work. So this script in particular that I'm working on now, I'm literally working on it half ass backwards. It like going forward, I would do all those things that I just mentioned, like to find out who the character is, like what their wants, their needs, find out like what they wear, what they do,
What's
how do
their
they talk to
agenda?
girls,
What do
just
they?
everything. Like
Yeah.
I'll give you, I have another idea, just real quick. It's just a very generic idea in my head, like something that I might write like next. I was thinking about. I always wanted to do like a mafia type of movie, and I wanted to do something where it's like two brothers that they own a bakery, and it was handed down to them by their father.
Sounds like a Staten Island story.
Staten Island story, right? One guy is his wants, right? So we'll give you an example. There's a good brother and there's a shitty brother. The good brother always wanted to be an artist, and he was like never able to do it because he had to like stay and like help and like with the family bakery and all this shit. So what happened was that he became like really good at creating cakes, and like he used his artistic creativity into like honing in and like making these amazing cakes. So this bakery became like very successful, and he wants to like franchise it. And then you have the other brother who's like a fuck up, and he always seeking his father's approval because the father's always patting the other son on the back kind of thing. And I wanted to do something where like the father, either he loses money in gambling or he needs an operation, and the fuck up brother says, oh, I can make my dad happy. So he goes to the mafia and gives his share to the mafia, and while the other brother's trying to franchise this, now the mafia is involved with this bakery. But like on the surface, that's very cliche.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we've seen it before. We've seen it. So like I had, what in that story, what could be different? So like I'm saying, like if you made it unique, it's just something stupid. I'm just gonna throw out a dumb example. What if what if the father wanted a sex change and he wanted to be a woman, and like this is an Italian family and the father wanted to be a woman and he needed the money, and the son's like, oh well, you know what? I'll finally make him happy and he'll approve of me, and like that's like a spin or a twist on it. I don't know. I'm just giving you an example
I'll make her happy.
of like trying to change it around a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
But as far as the characters go, that is like what I have in my mind right now. Very generic, you know. And then like I would have to going forward, I would sit down and try to like really see, like before I would fucking waste my time with a screenplay and writing it and figuring it out as I go. I would figure out the characters first, the plot, and make sure like to do an outline. And then also if it's like a movie, it's got to hit like beats and crap. So like, you got to get to the point in like the first so many minutes, and then the first like incident's got to happen within the first 25 to 27 minutes. There's a good book about that they go. It's called Save the Cat, and it tells you like everything about like the different beats you have to hit in one act structure, act 2, act
Beats?
3.
You said beats?
Yeah, it's called beats. So
What
it's
is
like all it means is like by page 5 this is supposed to happen. By page 15 this is
Oh,
supposed to
that makes
happen.
sense.
The story's got to get
Keeps a
rolling
structure.
by this. The structure, yeah, I'm sorry, the structure, correct.
This is it's cool, and I'm sure if anybody is listening and wanted to like write something, you just don't know. It could be. There's a quote from a writer. I forgot who the fuck said it, but they said, "What's your biggest fear in life?" And they said a blank piece of paper. It was like this famous writer, because it's just like, oh, it could be overwhelming with how the fuck am I gonna turn this into a thing? And and it sounds like you've refined shit, and you've created a bunch of things. Like 60 pages is hefty.
No,
I,
I
I don't
hear
think I
you,
ever I don't think I ever had a paper that was that long.
I hear you, Libs, but listen, man, like I'm telling you, I'm still green as hell.
Right.
Okay, I still haven't sold a script yet. I feel like if I keep
That's the
working at
thing. This is
it, it will.
that's part of the you keep grinding on these things, and you
But
grind, and that
dude,
I'm
yeah,
not
seriously, dude, there's times I wake up and like now it's easier because I don't have work for the last couple of months because the entertainment industry is down right
not
now. I'm
essential.
telling you. So I get up and sometimes it's hard to sit in front of the computer. I have to like sometimes play songs. I gotta play like this thing like the flow state or try to like listen to it to try to get myself in or watch videos of like how to get motivated. Before I was talking to you, like I have like all these whiteboards in my room of like all these ideas and stuff like that. And it's like you're married to the script. And like sometimes I can't think of shit. And there's been plenty of times where I want to like smash my head against the wall or work really hard. And I met with my script consultant. He's like, it's just not working. What do you mean it's not
This is what he sounds like.
fucking working? No, he's a very nice guy. He's a very, very nice guy. I'm just kidding. I very, very nice, but and polite, and he's not steering me wrong. He's trying to tell me what's right and what's wrong. Like what he just going on like what sells, what doesn't. If you go in front of Netflix, what are they gonna ask you? If you go to CBS, what are they gonna ask you? You gotta know this and that. So it sucks because like I have a lot of ideas that I love, and I had to like throw them away because it didn't work for the script or for the story. So once you change one thing, 17 other things have to change. So it's a lot of frustration with that.
Sorry, I feel like I'm about to sneeze. Yeah, that's a pain. Yeah, I could see that too. Like you could have something that's like 90% done, but because you got to change one thing, all of a sudden it becomes like 90% isn't really 90% because there's
Right.
so many changes that flow from one change.
Yeah, and then like you close one plot hole up and you open up 3 other little ones now. It's just it's very frustrating.
Yeah, it's I'm sure it's frustrating. And I was listening to Bill Burr earlier, like comedian,
Yeah.
and he was talking about being in the writer's room with his F is for Family show, and he
Right.
was like, "This fucking job, I would have, I thought it was gonna be fun, but this is a pain in the ass. This is one of the biggest pains in the ass is sitting and is just writing these stories." And then he's all bounced it off each other, and then somebody brings something up, and you gotta change fucking everything.
Yeah. Right.
It's an art. It really is. It's an art.
The art is patience, and I don't have it. That's something like I need to work on too. Is like to like calm down and not like get frustrated because I get easily frustrated, and it's hard like because I don't know. Like I don't know how many of your listeners are writers or aspiring to be writers, but it's you're pouring your heart out onto the page. So you're trying to give like the best you can. And when you're told you like you suck or no or it's a failure or I don't get it or like I kind of stop reading after so many pages, it every time it hurts and like it's just you have to like keep moving forward and that's so easy to say, but like disappointment it like really knocks you down and makes you question everything. And I guess you just gotta like, if you have the goal, just keep trying. Like I want to direct one day. I want to direct a successful horror film. I have it up on my board, my vision board, as a goal. So like, and then sometimes, dude, like to make myself feel better, I watch The Room. You ever see The Room with Tommy Wiseau?
Oh my God!
I must have watched that movie about 1,000 times.
It's good.
It's so good. It's so good. I'm obsessed with him. He actually came out with his show in like 2006. It's called Neighbors. It's on YouTube, so you could YouTube it. It's one of the worst shows of all time. It's like 6 episodes.
That movie was so. I thought the whole time I was watching it, I was like, no, this is a joke. This is supposed to be like. So I thought it was supposed to be funny,
right?
That it was so bad. I'm like, no, this can't be. This can't be serious. I was convinced.
But there's something about that movie because I keep going back to it. I keep going back to The Well. I don't know what it is. Dude. It's not always when I feel like shit either. Sometimes there's just something magical about that movie, about how he moves his facial expressions, about how the scenes.
There are none. There are.
It's probably the worst movie ever.
The sex scenes.
And when he's going into her side, he's not even connecting with her.
Oh. And then there's the grandma, his love interest mother is like, I went to the doctor. I have breast cancer. And then they never talk about it, but she's still in the rest of the time. It's like, why would they?
It was subplot. That's what it was.
And then when there's the dealer, the kid with the drugs.
Where's my fucking money, Danny?
The guy comes and they yell at each other.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I love that.
It's a brilliant movie.
There's another guy too on YouTube. He's made like 5 films. This guy Neil Breen. He's actually worse than Tommy Wiseau. So like, if you ever feel like shit and you want to make yourself feel better, check these people out. Check out The Room. It gives you hope to know that like if this guy made a movie, I can make a movie.
I think it's not even just movies. It's with anything that you want to be. If you're passionate about it and you want to be great at it, it's trial, it's error, it's fucking up, realizing what you fucked up, fucking it up again, and then eventually getting to another level where you're like, okay, I'll never be at that level again. This is where I'm at now, and I don't think I could get any better than this. But then somehow you get better, and you go to another level, and then eventually you could be like, I don't know how the fuck I got here, but I'm fucking here now.
Right.
And it's just that's what, and that could apply to anything. That could apply to podcasts. That could apply to movies. That could apply to stand-up comedy, martial arts. Those are all things I'm interested in. So that's why those things came to my head. Yeah. But that's part of the reason why when I started doing this, the quarantine started. I was like, oh, what should I do? What do I talk about? I don't know what to do. And I was like, and I was looking online, and I was getting these ads, and it said, start a podcast in 30 days. I was like, what the fuck do I need 30 days? I have a microphone. I have everything I need. Just fucking start it and just fucking see what happens. And now, thanks to all these fantastic listeners, we're going somewhere. So shout out to all the Tony Talks folks.
I did the same. I did my own podcast. I'm 6 episodes in. It's a wrestling podcast that me and 2 other guys do every Sunday. It's called "It Doesn't Matter What We Think" podcast.
So we were always able to talk a little bit about wrestling. Dude, it's so weird with no crowd.
It's horrible with no crowd.
I don't know, because they did an MMA, they did the MMA, UFC with no crowd, and I was like, and it's good. You could hear everything, but wrestling with no crowd, they'll have to the show gets played to the crowd.
I know, I agree with you. And you know what bothers me the most? Why are they still using microphones on Raw and SmackDown? Why do you need the microphone?
I didn't even think of that.
Oh, we can hear you. It's an empty arena. You know?
Oh my God.
They and I mentioned this on the last few podcasts that because of this situation, like wrestling is
real quick. It's available on YouTube.
It is available on YouTube. It doesn't matter what we think, and I think I have a Twitter handle. If you just give me a second, I forgot. I think he might have changed it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what we think.
The Twitter handle is @Minetti Guzzo Pod. So it's M as in Mary, I as in igloo, N as in Nancy, E as in igloo, E as in eagle, TTIGUZZO Pod on Twitter.
You know, I use on Instagram too. Because
I think he is starting an Instagram. It's called MGF Pod. Again, that's MGF Pod. We got the coach for the last one.
Huh?
We got the coach to do one of those cameos for the last episode. He was great. Jonathan Coachman. Remember
Jonathan Coachman? You said
like 2002, 2003.
I'm a follower now.
Awesome.
Of the MGF Pod. That's awesome. What did you said, Coachman?
Yeah, Jonathan Coachman. You can do it a lot now. They have those cameos that like you pay a certain amount of money and they could give you a shout out. I saw one the other day with Gary Busey.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about. There's like a bunch of celebrities that do it. Probably really popular right now.
Yeah, like Mike Tyson, he does it too. He's getting back into wrestling and boxing. That nut job.
Yeah, well, there's rumors that he's going to fight Evander Holyfield for the third time. That would be fucking... Bro, he's scary.
He's scary. He's crazy. He takes a lot of DMT. There's like on YouTube, like his DMT trips and all this stuff.
What do you know about DMT?
I never experimented with DMT. I don't know any. I couldn't give you like a personal adventure. I've seen on YouTube, like people like talk about it that like this isn't the real world. They come back and it's just like they realize like that the world is nothing. It's almost like they describe it as like this isn't the real world right here. This is nothing. So I don't know. I never took it though. Never had that trip.
Okay. I was curious because since you brought it up.
Joe Rogan talks about it on the podcast, on his podcast a lot.
Yeah. For anybody that knows that knows me knows that Rogan's pretty much my fucking inspiration, role model, hero.
My brother too. He loves him. I watched an episode with him, like what was it, a couple of days ago. The guy from Tesla was on it.
Elon Musk.
Yeah. And then the other guy, what's the fat guy? He's so
Joey
funny.
Diaz.
He's on it a lot. Yeah, Joey Diaz. Yeah. But it's a good podcast because it's like kind of like this. It's just he sits down and it's very chill and they just bullshit.
Yeah, my new catchphrase for this podcast is it's like Joe Rogan without the steroids.
Cool. I like that. It's catchy.
Because I don't know what to. I started doing like top 5 things, and I was like, how should I structure it? And I was like, let me just just talk about what people are interested in.
Yeah, man, shoot this shit, dude. I don't know, like my podcast on the wrestling.
Let me
It's
ask you. I
yeah,
want
yeah,
to.
yeah. Tell me.
What
Yes,
what did you think of WrestleMania?
WrestleMania
The one that just
36.
yeah, the one that just passed. Because you know,
I
I did a reaction video
You did
to
really
to Goldberg and Braun Strowman because I love Goldberg,
right.
and I can imagine that you rip him apart right now.
No, no. I actually, it's funny. I think it was the premiere episode of It Doesn't Matter What We Think. It was we did the review on WrestleMania 36, and that Goldberg match obviously sucked. You know, it was all about like that Saudi Arabian money as they were describing it because he wasn't supposed to fight Braun Strowman. You know that? You know that
Yeah,
he
it's
was
supposed to
supposed to
fight Roman Reigns.
Roman Reigns. Right.
So it was
You know,
his half his matches are him screaming at the crowd going, "Ah, Goldberg," and it's just
well, that's his gimmick, right?
yeah.
His gimmick is to go in there, do 2-minute matches, like they throw you to the lions. He eats them up, spear, jackhammer, 1, 2, 3, done. The only problem is that Goldberg is getting older now. A couple of years ago when he fought Brock Lesnar, he looked fantastic. This time he looked like shit. And he fought The Undertaker last year in
Oh
Saudi
yeah,
Arabia.
I watched
And he
it.
almost killed him. By the way, I'm not working for WWE here, but you have to watch this documentary if you have the WWE network. It's called The Take a. It's excellent. It's the
Hold
last
on,
3 years of his
hold
life.
on.
Like,
We just lost your audio as you were pronouncing that. What is it called?
do you hear me now?
Yeah.
It's called on the WWE network. It's called Undertaker: The Last Ride.
Okay.
It's the last 3 years of his life have been documented, and like the next episode is about that horrible match between him and Goldberg and how he almost killed him. Goldberg like knocked himself out. He went so hard into the turnbuckle. He gave himself a
Because you know what
concussion.
he does? He headbutts the lockers before he walks out.
Right.
So he was already probably concussed.
Yeah, he was.
And then he ran to the fucking post.
Yeah.
Oh, I was watching it, and cause that's my hero. That's like when I was a kid. Goldberg was my guy, and it was so hard to watch that match.
I know, I agree. And like the Undertaker matches since like WrestleMania 30 have been just every year I don't want to watch it. It's like you're cringing
Yeah, I
watching this
know.
guy who used to be amazing and now he can't even like walk around. They show it in the first episode. He's limping before his match with Roman Reigns. It was supposed to be his final match at WrestleMania 33, and they show him limping throughout the whole time leading up to that match. But
That match was a snooze fest.
yeah, it was horrible. He tried Roman Reigns tried to reverse the tombstone. They both fell. He couldn't pick them up. It was a train wreck and horrible. But as far as like WrestleMania this year, they changed it to a boneyard match. I don't know if you
I
saw
saw it.
that.
Yeah, I saw it.
So like my big beef with WWE is on my podcast, and I like to talk about it a lot, is that during this time, because there's no fans, they've made these like new cinematic matches.
Yeah, they did. What then? It was with the. I thought the what do you call one was okay. The Bray
Bray
Wyatt one.
Wyatt.
It was weird.
The Bray Wyatt one would have been good. Would have been good for like SmackDown, or if they would have just said it was a segment with John Cena. The only reason I didn't like it was because
I don't know what the fuck I was
they
watching.
advertised it as a match, and it wasn't a match. So if they would have just said like John Cena goes to the Funhouse at WrestleMania, or if it was like that was the build up to the match, Friday Night SmackDown before WrestleMania, I would have liked it. You know, it was awesome nostalgia. Saturday Night Main Event. Cena's doing the bicep curls and like they're making fun of Hogan. A lot of good stuff. But then, you know, they jump in the well one too many times. The following month, which they just had the pay-per-view last week, was Money in the Bank. They had the Money in the Bank ladder match at WWE headquarters. They did that same type of match
They
where
did a cinematic one.
cinematic in the WWE headquarters. 5 men, 5 women, both going up the ladder for the
The
Money in the Bank
briefcase.
briefcase, and it was just a mess. And it became a
That's what they
parody
do.
of
They
itself.
go to the
WWE and their
well.
tone
They're
too
famous
many
for that.
times.
Going to the well one too many times. They do it with wrestlers, especially. Like if they retired Goldberg after fucking, I don't know. You can't say after Survivor Series because they may have to make Brock Lesnar come back and win. But after that whole run with Brock, I thought that was fucking great.
Yeah, no, I agree
But they
with you.
keep bringing him back, and they keep bringing the Undertaker back.
Yeah, because they have like those deals in Saudi Arabia. They give them a lot of money. I think the Undertaker and Goldberg got like $2 million
Yeah,
each for one match.
yeah, they
How are you
can't.
gonna turn that
They
down?
can't. I know, but it's just like, oh, it's just, no.
They're not even with it. The Saudi Arabian, whatever they're called, the Saudis. Sorry, they asked Vince to put a match on with like Yokozuna. Yokozuna's been dead for years. Sorry, subject to change.
Did they really?
You can't provide that. Yeah, they don't know. They're probably still watching wrestling from like 1993.
You know what's so weird is watching the females wrestle there, and they're all
Oh yeah,
covered.
right. 'Cause they're not allowed. They weren't allowed. Well, the first pay-per-view, they didn't have any
They didn't
female.
have any, but the last one they had them. They were like covered fully. They had them wrestle, but it was awkward because they're always like so. They got their legs out, they got their stomachs out. It's like, hey, all right, it's just pretty good right over here. Let's take a look at this, bro. You know what I mean? But then in Saudi Arabia, they got them covered from head to toe, and you can't see anything.
You see the main girl, Becky Lynch. She had to give the belt up because she's pregnant.
Yeah, she's actually pregnant.
She's pregnant in real life. Yeah.
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 I remember that John Cena proposed to
Nikki Bella.
Yeah, then they broke up, right?
Yeah.
So,
Nothing.
I was watching that with my brother and his wife, and they were like, "Wait, is this part of the show?" I was like, "No, I think this is real, but it's still part of the show."
Right.
Yeah, no, wrestling's cool. It's just
No, it'll never be. I'm like a guy in an abusive relationship where I had love at one time and cherished it, and like the person I'm with is so far beyond gone, and they just keep screwing me over, hitting me, and disappointing me. It's
but
like
you're just used to it.
with the Attitude Era of wrestling, and just like hoping it would get back to what it once was over 22 years ago. And it's just not. It's horrible. But I'll keep watching it.
Have you seen AEW at all?
Yeah, I started watching it. I was actually supposed to go to an event. They were supposed to have it at Prudential. I think it was in March, the end of March, but it was obviously canceled. I really was like enjoying it, and it started like really building like steam. But then like this whole this COVID-19 happened. They do it a little better with instead of fans, they actually have wrestlers come out and around the ring and they kind of cheer it on, so it's a little more lively. But they went the same shit too. They went that cinematic route, and they have broken Matt Hardy that came to AEW, and Jericho's fighting with the drone. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's so fake. It's like Chris Jericho's a god though. He had the best year. He's my favorite wrestler right now. But as soon as he dropped the belt to that guy John Moxley at the last pay-per-view.
Yeah, Dean Ambrose.
So Dean Ambrose, whatever, Moxley, Ambrose, same shit. He dropped the belt because he thought that he was going to be going on tour with Fozzy in the summer. But obviously that didn't happen because what's going on. But I wish they should have kept the belt on him for the whole entire AEW stint because he was just the best. He came out. He was like 50 pounds overweight. His stomach was drooping over the belt.
Oh my god! I gotta watch it.
Oh, he's so fat. He's like this fat, wonderful man who just like drips barbecue sauce all over himself. And
but don't they have like? Isn't a big thing WWE fucks this up all the time, but they never put the younger wrestlers over.
Yeah, no, but the AEW is trying to like they have mostly Jericho's like the only person who's like probably the oldest.
His fat stomach.
Fat slob, but he's amazing. He's like this fat piece of shit rock star who's just awesome. Like just moves, but like everything's about to like rip off of him, but he still moves. The scarf, you gotta watch it.
Yeah, no, Jericho's the man, and he wasn't getting his due in WC. That was a big thing in WCW
Right,
days, and then he went to WWE, and he was huge because they
right.
did it. They did the right thing with him. Especially WCW was the worst, just using older wrestlers.
Yeah, and then eventually they caved in, right?
Yeah, then they fucking caved. Then Shane McMahon bought them out from underneath Vince in the invasion.
I listen to a lot of that other podcast, 83 Weeks with Eric Bischoff and Conrad Thompson, and they go over a lot of like the behind the scenes of what happened in WCW from like Eric Bischoff's perspective, which is great. I love that one because it's geared towards like the business side of wrestling. And it's just interesting.
Yeah, that might be interesting to check out.
Yeah.
Yeah, we gave a fair number of shout outs to other podcasts.
A lot of other podcasts listen to you and building up your network.
Yeah, we're trying, doing all we can. This is the first episode, by the way. This is historic. I'm going to point this out to you. That I have my backdrop set up here because it used to just be my girls' hats and a couple of my hats, and I hated it. So I was like, I got to make this look official here now. So I put a little creative spin on it. And
I need a better backdrop. I need to put something in my back wall. So maybe
it looks
screen or
good.
something.
You got the bookcase there, like
Bookcase.
there's a few books on it. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. What do you call it? Let me I think we're over an hour in.
Yeah.
Do you want to put your social media stuff out or anything you want to put out or?
Just let you know to click and subscribe. I have a YouTube channel called Chris Guzzo. I try to put content on there as much as possible. Hopefully, when this whole pandemic ends, I'll be coming out with another movie shortly, and I'm just happy for the films right now that I made that they've made into a few film festivals. I'm still waiting for a lot. So this was great, man, and I would love to come back and shoot the shit with you again.
Yeah. What do you call it? Let's when your next stuff comes out, let's reconnect and we'll see how that stuff's going and what we can expect going forward.
That'd be a lot of fun, man.
Brand new start of it.